Recognizes Mr. Waltz for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So recently had the last weekend already to take my family down to the Cape for the amazing celebration of Apollo, and in conversations with my daughter and family, they were astounded as much as their dad talks about space and why we need to be there. They were astounded to learn that the United States cannot send humans, we cannot send American astronauts to space. And I think that's always worth repeating. I think that our dependence on the Russian RD-180 is unacceptable, Mr. Stallmer, and I sit on the Armed Services Committee and see the national security implications of this all the time. So I know the Air Force is working in the right direction with the launch service agreement contracts to improve our domestic capabilities. How can Congress help reduce this dependency also on the civilian side?
The dependency on foreign launch vehicles, or on innovation of developing newer technologies?
Well, specifically on the Russian-made rocket engines.
Well, I think we're moving beyond that. I think there's a limitation on how many more Russian engines can be used. But what I would focus on is the innovation that you're seeing from several U.S. commercial companies on building new technologies and new engines. The fact that we were, for many years, dependent on a Russian engine for one of our main rockets is well, that's a political hot potato. But what we are seeing right now, the SpaceX, Blue Origin, Vector, Rocket Labs, kick me because I probably can't name them all. The new Virgin in Sierra Nevada, the new entrants that are building new American technology, new engines that hasn't been done in 20 years. I think that's a tremendous breakthrough, and I think with Congress's support and the certainty on certain regulations, we'll continue this innovative growth on this new technology.
Please, I mean, just in the interest of time, send over anything else for the record, and that's for all the panels, that Congress can help with to get government out of the way of this innovation. We need to create a framework and take the approach of creating a framework that emboldens innovation from the private sector and gets, obviously within reason and with safety first, but gets out of the way. And can, any way we can be helpful, we stand ready to do so. I have Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University in my district. They're doing incredible work on space situational awareness and space traffic management. DOC, the Department of Commerce, recently announced they are beginning to accept space situational awareness data from DoD, the Defense Department, in order to provide a commercial storefront for the private sector and our international partners. Commerce officials, my understanding, have been clear they don't want to be, so to speak, a traffic cop in space. How do we, and this is for anyone, Mr. Stallmer, I'll start with you, but how do we ensure the transfer of this responsibility from DoD to Commerce is done, and again, without creating new levels of bureaucracy or regulatory burden?
You have to leverage the commercial tools that are out there on the marketplace right now, what satellite companies are using for their own space situational awareness, the space data, Space Data Association, what they're using, the commercial products that are readily available at an affordable cost. You don't need this long lead time development. You just need to procure commercial products that are existing on the market that everyone else in the world is using. So,
are we doing that?
Some government agencies are doing that, and I think some government agents could be a lot more efficient in the way they procure commercial services.
Okay. Again, for the record, on which government agencies and which specifically we can
be happy to provide you that list.
Ms. Christensen, just in the time remaining, Bryce issued a report on Volusia County in my district on their commercial space supply chain characterization. So the report stated that since 2000, over 250 venture capital firms have invested nearly $14 billion in startup. The scale of this investment will have generational consequences for Florida's Space Triangle, the Cape, Daytona, Orlando. Can you describe how the space industry will create jobs up and down the supply chain and those kind of spill-on effects across multiple industries?
I'm pleased to, and the end product of the space businesses that are being funded by venture capital is often analytic services, communications technologies, capabilities that support and enhance a wide range of other businesses. For example, telecommunications services are critical to any number of small businesses that rely on flexibility and international access. From that end user and the downstream applications all the way back up through the supply chain of manufacturing, computing capabilities, test and evaluation, engineering services, technologists, and then the whole range of people and services that support companies and a growing ecosystem that are not directly space-related, but that create jobs for people in support industries, ranging from legal services and consultants to food service workers and people in communities that are seeing that growth.
Thank you. Madam Chair, I yield.
Thank you, Mr. Waltz. The chair recognizes Ms. Wexton for 5 minutes of questions.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for yielding, and thank you to the panelists for appearing today. I represent Virginia, where we are proudly the home of Wallops Island, the Mars, the Mid-Atlantic Regional Spaceport, and